Woohoo! Good morning, all. This is Irreverent Ellsworth coming to you live from the chilly wilds of Baltimore, Maryland. For some strange reason, the Reverend moved north last year. Yeah, that's right, during the summer months he did too. Enjoyed all summer here in Maryland. I enjoyed summer all summer long here in Maryland. No, that's not true. That's a lie. There were decidedly a few days that were awful and terrible and just awful. It's the kind of weather you want to light some fire. Let's go ahead and get some fire going here. Whew. That's probably the one cool thing about the wintertime is that you do get to just let's see. How do you explain this to people that haven't never had to deal with the cold before? You poor Florida people, you don't understand what it's like. Yeah, about every 6 months there comes a change in Maryland, unlike what you experience down in the tropics. It's the sound of spring. Earth starts to warm up, thaw. The birds come back. The flowers, they grow. Food comes back. Six months later, something awful happens. The world unsprings. The birds go away. The flowers die. The earth becomes cold and rigid. Like my ex's heart. No, that's not true. That's terrible to say. She won't watch this anyway. It's hilarious. She calls me up all the time. She's like, "Did you see what I put on Facebook?" And I was like, "Bitch, I've been all over Twitter all morning, but you ain't got nothing to say." Whatever. Let's... Does that add to the warmth here? A little fire? Ooh. So cold up in these parts. It's kind of nice though, because when it gets cold, you feel the need to kind of snuggle with people, and you're just like, "Come here, please. Let us get naked and warm our bodies so that we don't experience hypothermia." Yeah, it's not like that in Florida. When it gets really hot, you're just like, "Ugh, you're sticky, get off me." Yeah, you can't do that when it's hot all the time. So when it's cold, you want to snuggle, yeah. Hey, so quick question. Do you think all the Mexican drug rugs you find at the truck stops are just ponchos on the cheap? Yeah, cut this one up. Or what had happened was, mildew is a special type of fungus for textiles. It's just fungus. So this poor, beautiful loomed item, I'm sure someone worked very hard on this, or a machine did. I don't know. I guess we do this by people still. Yeah, we can run these off a machine. I don't know, even money, depending on where it's from. Anyway, I left it out in the shed. It got dirty. It became the home for many animals. The first time I opened it, I actually found out what earthworm eggs look like. Have you ever seen earthworm eggs? They're an amazing thing. Earthworm eggs look like little tiny pearls. They're clear. They're about the size of a pea, and there's like a little center to them, like a little white center. It's amazing. It's like a transparent pearl egg. I don't know. Kind of weird. And I know it was an earthworm because there was an earthworm laying there all like motherly, like, "Yeah, bitch, I just laid these. What have you done today?" And I'm just like, "Not much, lady. Not much. I just didn't push the entire hopes and dreams of a future generation through my thighs. That's for damn sure." Of course, earthworms don't have thighs, so there's that. Huh. Anyway, so I found this blanket out in the shed, and it wasn't doing so good, and it had the ooey gooey earthworm eggs everywhere. Nevertheless, there were other creatures that felt like taking portions of it away, like mice, for example. Rodents. Oh, I love you. Rodents. Oh, I have a lovely little family of mice that keep making my life a living hell out in the kitchen. Yeah, they keep running across things. Terrifies the shit out of me. I have a cat. And you think that would be no mice, wouldn't you? Oh, you'd be thinking wrong, darling. Because my cat just is like, meow. I'm like, yeah, why don't you catch the mouse? She's like, meow. What she's saying is not today. Not today. And not before 3, because wet food comes at 3. So, meow. Gotta pace yourself. Right, meow. One of my regrets in life is that I didn't buy a Chairman Meow t-shirt for the Indiegogo for Super Troopers 2, but I totally love those guys, and they raised a shit ton of money by basically selling their souls and pimping themselves out in general whorish fashion. Like there are prostitutes in this world that look at the the crowdfunding page for Super Troopers 2, and they're just like, oh honey, you don't have to do none of this. No, this is not right. There's a lot of not right here. So that's a lot of fun there. Oh, excuse me. Well, so it's getting colder, and people are snuggling up. I've started to put on some winter weight, when you're obese is probably a bad idea. So I'm actually taking strides now. I'm cycling 15 minutes every day. That's right. Irreverent Ellsworth is taking his health seriously for the first time this week, and he is cycling 15 minutes every day. Yeah. Actually, yesterday it was 20. Yeah, how about that? What? That's right. That's what I thought. Also, I have a really fun project that I've been working on, and I've been going gangbusters on it. Introducing Subtle the Chainsaw. Brought to you by Creative Commons, Share Alike. Attribution Share Alike. So that means you can take this and you can do anything you want with it, as long as you tell people that I came up with it, the original concept. I started it, okay? And this is a derivative work, and that you have to do it under the same license. So just as I am willing to share, you have to create work that you're willing to share. And at first, as an artist, I have to tell you that I wasn't quite sure what to make of Creative Commons, because there is a certain kind of safety blanket, if you will, in the term copyright. Because you look at how Disney has basically locked down Mickey Mouse long after Walt Disney has died. And you think, oh, my ideas could be safe like Mickey. Hashtag safe like Mickey. Or you can look at, the case of Nikola Tesla, who I'm pretty sure had quite a few really wealth-building ideas appropriated and outright stolen by Einstein. And then you go, ooh, I still want my ideas safe like Mickey. But then you think about, okay, yes, Tesla did not make a lot of money. He was not a rich man. And it sucks, because he should have been. But at the same time, I still think Nikola Tesla died with a smile on his face, because he did something with his life that made the world a better place upon his exit than it did upon his entry. And that's where I get to with certain things in life. Like I record myself on a regular basis. Like I always tell my writing students to definitely take notes. You have to take notes, because you never know when inspiration can hit you. By the way, National Novel Writing Month is coming up in November. So after you go ahead and check out Subtle the Chainsaw on Facebook, like the page. I think it's just facebook.com/groups/Subtle the Chainsaw, or maybe it's just /Subtle the Chainsaw. But just search for it. You'll see his smiling face. He's like, hey. I've written 8 strips so far in like 3 or 4 days. So I'm really excited about that project. And I really got off topic. What was I talking? I was talking about something very profound. Anyway, I record myself because I tell my writing students all the time, I say, you never know when inspiration is going to hit you, so you should carry a recorder around all the time so that you can take notes hands-free. Because you're driving, you can't write, you can't look down. You shouldn't even be playing with your cell phone. So you should have like a voice-activated recorder, something you can just hit, record on real quick, and just talk to yourself for a while. And yeah, it is terribly boring. But rather than do these little 30-second snippets, do like 5 to 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes is a good stuff. I tried to do a minute or two, and it just got so disjointed, and they come at you so fast. If you've ever tried language study, and you go through like the Berlitz method, I want to say it is, Berlitz. I tried to learn German through Berlitz, and I got one of their little books, and I got their audio tape, but Berlitz is very mechanical and rote. It was interesting because somebody was talking about, Extra Credits on YouTube was talking about how education in this country used to be based on rote. It's just that repetition. E equals MC squared. E equals MC squared. E equals MC squared. Very good. Moving on. And it's like, that's terrible. Nobody wants to go that way. Well, it's funny because, that older thing had that, that rote feeling. And man, I've hit like 5 ideas at once. I need to slow down a bit. Excuse me, it's the cold. It makes me shiver. So hard for the irreverentellsworth to stay focused. But I do these audio recordings, and I say, stick to the 5-minute mark, because even if you're babbling like I am now, when you go back over your recording, it'll be so much fun, because you'll give yourself a laugh, because you're going to laugh at your own silliness and your foolishness. 2, you're going to remember that you're human, and to be patient with the poor sap, because Ellsworth can be a real asshole sometimes. He's inconsiderate. He doesn't think about people's feelings, least of all his own. Poor bastard won't even exercise. He is a little bit for the past couple days. And that brings me into number 3, which is really important with your recordings. Take a moment with your recordings to remind yourself about something you did very, very well. So often it is easy to remember what we did not do well. This is a part of survival. You are testing your environment. That's why the scientific method is so praised and lauded, and it should be, because the scientific method is what we do naturally. It's part of us. It's funny, because even if you are extremely religious and even defensive of religion, you are still doing it through the scientific method. But see, the scientific method isn't the scientific method. As Alan Watts would say, it's a bomb, and we won't give it a name. What we do as creatures of survival is we have this path we walk, and this path is all about testing our steps. The first time you walk onto a steel grid in New York City, you're walking in Baltimore City, most major cities, you walk around one of those skyscrapers or a high-rise or, just a Trump tower. Oh, fuck Trump. Hashtag fuck Trump. The first time you walk around the city and you walk across one of those steel grates and the air blows up, you should really vote for Bernie Sanders. Hashtag Bernie Sanders 2016. Hashtag feel the burn. BERN. The first time you walk around the city and you walk across one of those steel grates, there's a natural tendency to stop and just kind of put your foot in, like you're testing the water. You're like, okay. And you lean a little. You give it about a 10%. You're just like, huh? Yeah, okay. And you give it about a quarter. You're just like, okay. And this time you might actually put your foot all the way down. You put your down rating, and they'll make a noise. You're like, cling. And you stop back. You're like, the fuck? Your friend's looking at you like, come on, asshole, it's just settling, you're fine. And then of course, with any good city, at any good major traffic time, you're going to have dozens of people walking back and forth. And they're going to hit that grate and just clang, 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 clang. It's, Oh, it's like dropping a. Whew, it's like dropping an octopus on a yeah, a MIDI keyboard. Down, 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 down. I mean, what's the reference? It's like dropping an octopus on a piano. That's probably a better metaphor. My favorite octopus metaphor is that was the dumbest thing I could have heard. In fact, you could have dropped an octopus into a tank full of Scrabble letters and come up with something more intelligent than what you just said. That's kind of good, isn't it? Yeah. It's an irreverentellsworth original. You take it with my blessed. Patient be. Patient be. Oh, a quick thing to current events. I don't like to get into current events too much because then it dates the video, and then when you're watching it 10 years from now, you're like, I gotta do research. I gotta go to Wikipedia and find out why Baltimore had riots in 2015. It's so funny, too, because when I was growing up, and they were like, yeah, they had riots in Baltimore in the 60s. And I'm like, oh my God, who cares about the riots in Baltimore in the 60s? So when you live through riots in 2015, which when I say live through, I live in the suburbs. So people are like, oh my God, you're in Baltimore. Are you okay? And I'm like, okay, first of all, the president is probably closer to the action than I am. Well, that's not quite true. DC's about 50 miles away. Every place said 40 miles from the protests in Baltimore, and the president is putting on some kind of Met Gala. They call it Nerd Prom. I think that's it. Anyway, I went way off track with Baltimore. If you come up here, you gotta say hun a lot. Yeah, it's one of those things. They talk about the Baltimore Huns. Oh, and some enterprising individual went out and copyrighted the word Hun, trademarked it. Either trademarked it or I think copyrighted. No, not copyrighted. I think you trademarked. You have to trademark because it's it's not like a work. It's an idea or a brand, and yeah, that got ugly, and is still I imagine ugly because she still retains it. Yeah, she tried to pull a not Russell Simmons. That's terrible. The guitarist from Kiss, Gene Simmons. Right last name, wrong first name. Gene Simmons, not Russell Simmons. Although Russell Simmons, brilliant musician. Maybe I should just change my last name to Simmons. Boom, mixtape. Fire! So, when you talk about when this woman trademarked Hun, what she did is set herself at odds with the city. So when you go back to as an artist and you're copywriting your work, with Subtle, I chose very kind of reluctantly at first, to go with the Creative Commons attribution share alike, because I really wanted to put non-commercial on there. And then I was reading the website and they said, look, Creative Commons, why is it considered Creative Commons if you're not going to be able to make money from it? I was like, I only want to be the one who makes money from it. And then I thought, oh, that's kind of capitalist, isn't it? Yeah. Here I've been saying, hey, we should vote for Bernie Sanders, Hashtag feel the burn, BERN. And at the same time, I'm like, no, I want to be the only one that makes money from Settle the Chainsaw. Like, okay, for instance, here's a great example, and it makes it current. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, two things I want to talk about in the news today. Mega Reverend John Oliver decides to step down from his position. Yeah. Representative Boehner also left, but let's talk about John Oliver leaving his post as Mega Reverend John Oliver at the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Exemption. Yeah, that needs to come back. And I forgot our second topic. Oh yeah, Creative Commons. Sometimes the Reverend gets ahead of himself. Now, I'm very disappointed with John Oliver because he stepped down, and I know he did it as a farce. But part of me understands that he was doing the Lord's work, and he needs to get up off his ass. John Oliver, I can't express to you how amazing it is to watch you every week as you explore something that most people just don't care about. You bring up shit that I can't talk about at a water cooler. You know what it's like to sit around Monday morning and say, "Hey, everybody, did you hear the Prime Minister David Cameron put his penis into the mouth of a pig?" And they were like, "Well, I would say she was ugly, but I wouldn't call her a pig." Ooh. No, that's not what we say. That's rude. No, I love that John Oliver created his church and then he stepped down. Bastard. Get back up there. You don't get to shirk your duties, asshat. Anyway, so getting back to subtle, the reason I chose Creative Commons, and the reason we talk about capitalism, socialism, and I mean, capitalism is the preference of the individual. It really, that's what it is. I call myself Irreverent Ellsworth all the time. It's my middle name. Would I be upset if there was another Irreverent Ellsworth out there? Well, he would be diluting things. Unless he was a hot girl. Or a transvestite. I mean, basically, the only way I could improve on the brand Irreverent Ellsworth is to add boobs. Like really big knockers. Yeah. Well, with this Caitlyn thing going on, Caitlyn Jenner, I was just thinking, well, maybe I should try it out. Maybe I should be a woman for a while. I know that sounds utterly disrespectful for those individuals who are considering transgenderification? Nah. Well, just for a serious side note, somebody called me cisgendered. And I went, "What? The fuck do you call me?" He's like, "What the fuck you just call me?" Apparently I'm cisgendered. So because I call myself a man, because my parents call myself a man, I have a label. See, you should always talk about divisionism. You should always talk about divisionism. Hashtag divisionism. Hashtag pro-divisionist. You should always talk about divisionism with the Agent Smith voice. And like, there is cisgendering. You go. Mr. Anderson. But essentially, I am considered cisgendered because I identify as a man. Well, I don't know how many times I refer to myself as a man or identify myself as a man. I'm not saying that I identify as a woman either. But aside from my genitals, I don't really do much with my male persona. It's not like, "Yeah, I gotta be a man about this." No, not really. No. I mean, I really don't care what genitals I have. I'd want to rub them up against people. I mean, really, if I had a vagina, I'd want to rub it up against people. This is where I'm going to lose a lot of people. Note to self, after minute 20, it gets weird. But, I mean, no matter what I had, and it's not just your genitals, it's your body. I mean, we are essentially a gigantic general nerve, a general sensor. We are a giant IRI. Infrared? I don't know. Like the end of your remote. We are covered with the ability to experience. It's one of our senses. Is everything we come in contact with. So right now I have this blanket on top of me and my skin feels it. Now my skin has felt it for the past half hour, so it's kind of turned off its sensitivity. The repetitious nerves are drowned out. But our bodies are covered with the ability to draw in our outside world by touching, by feeling, by scraping, bouncing, slapping, smacking, touching, stroking. And we cover certain parts of our bodies and they never get touched. I mean, every time I see my friend Joyce, I give her a hug. And it's great because my hands get to touch her back and my arms get to squeeze around her. So, like, everything from my waist up really gets to enjoy Joyce. So I get to enjoy. And then everything from my waist down goes, "Hey, I want to enjoy Joyce too." And it's not even that, and see, immediately I run to, oh, it's not like I want to have sex with her. But it is. But it's not just her, it's everyone. That's the amazing thing. I'm covered with nerves, and I have the ability to sense the world around me through that interaction. So by experiencing the world around me and finding that a lot of it's pleasant if I approach it the right way. Don't touch fire, it's hot. Don't grab broken glass, it's sharp. Don't jump off a bridge, it hurts, it kills, that sort of thing. But when people start talking about your identity, and when somebody called me cisgendered, I was just like, well, okay, all right, so I guess if we're classifying me, I guess that's the way to do it, but that's really a philosophy. What you're doing is you're calling me of a certain philosophical thought. Because to be cisgendered means to identify with the gender you were handed at your birth. Okay, so I can either agree with what my parents said, or I can choose my own gender. Now, if I don't want to transgender, which is kind of, I mean, maybe I do, maybe I don't. But if I don't do it, I'm considered cisgendered. So there is cisgendered and transgender. So I guess in that regard, it's not really a pejorative. But the fact that, but the way it was presented was, I mean, you could have put any word in there. It really didn't matter that it was cisgendered or white or male. I mean, these are all words that are just saying, not me, not me. That's all it says over and over and over. You're a cisgendered white male. Christian, wasp. I mean, hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what word you say. It doesn't matter what acronym you come up with. It doesn't matter what line in the sand you want to draw between people and divide them. It's all the same thing. You're going, you are not like you, and you are not like you, and you are not like me, and I am not like you. That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing. All the words you want to come up. Every way you can describe me is a description, is a uniqueness, is a distinction from everyone else in the world. And distinction means different. Everyone is different. Everyone is unique. And in that uniqueness, we are all the same. Figure that shit out. I could go on and on. But as Stone Sour said, but let's move on. Take a moment this week and check out facebook.com/Settle the Chainsaw. I'm very proud of this cartoon series. I've always drawn comic strips. I used to work for a comic distributor. Love comic books since I was a young kid. This is my first attempt at a regular comic strip. It is mature themed. There is nudity, but it's drawn, so is it really nudity? You're gonna see two-dimensional women nipples. No man nipples, surprisingly, but you will see female nipples. So if that kind of thing bothers you, then you should just grow up. But check out Settle the Chainsaw. I'm very proud of the series. I've actually drawn 8 strips, and I did my first bonus panel, which will require fan participation. We're actually going to do a choose this caption, after you get a feeling for Settle and who he is. Because he's cisgendered chainsaw. Yeah, that's what he is. He's a chainsaw, and I think he's a dude because he's like me. And since I'm a cisgendered, he's a cisgendered. Yeah, what? That's fucked up. Because everybody's going to be like, well, that's very genderist. No, you know what it is? Ask questions. Because if you're afraid to ask questions, fuck you, answer boy. No, seriously. If you don't think I have the right to ask a question, the fuck made you king? Any question that I have, even if it doesn't sound very correct, and even if it doesn't seem to be very pleasant, I have the right to ask a question. You have the right to not answer it. In fact, it would probably be best if you didn't. And see, sometimes the Reverend has anger episodes. You must forgive him. I have relationships in my life where people ask a lot of questions. They're very inquisitive. It's like having a child. It's having a child. Having a child is very difficult because they ask a lot of questions. A lot of questions. So you find yourself re-examining a lot of things. Because there are a lot of things that you do, you take for granted, you don't necessarily explain when you do them. It's like, what are you doing? I'm going to the bathroom. Why? Well, because poop's coming out of me. Why? Well, because I ate something earlier. Why? Well, because I was hungry. Yeah, but why? Oh my God. Yeah, you get to that point where you're just like... And as frustrating as it is, and as terrible as it is, and as stupid, and as awful, and as bigoted, and nearsighted, and moronic, and counterproductive, and rhetorical as a question may be, a question should always exist. Why? Why? It's the same reason we get hungry. Yeah, think about that. How many times is your body going to have to get hungry before you get the point? Before it dawns on you, you got to eat every day. And yet there comes that question every day. What are we going to eat? 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 Because the question is what drives us. The question is what moves us. The question is what moves us. It binds us. It drives us. I don't quite have the Aiden Smith yet. This one. It drives us. It pushes us. It keeps us together. I have to work on my accents. They don't sound like I mean them to. Anyway. Whew, anger moment over. The Reverend is back. Thank you for your patience. So Subtle the Chainsaw, check it out. First day episodes are there. You can find it on the Facebook page. There's a little community page. You can check it out on that page. So thank you all for listening. You're very patient. And as always, I have but one message I want you to take away, and that's be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with everyone around you. I call it 5 minutes. Give it 5 minutes for a stranger. Just give someone 5 minutes a day of your time. That's it. Not money, not resources, nothing except your time, which is perhaps your most valuable resource and perhaps the greatest sacrifice I'm asking you to give. But give someone 5 minutes. Listen. Listen to what they need to say for 5 minutes today. You could diffuse the world. If every single person today gave a stranger 5 minutes and listened to what they have to say, even if you completely dismiss it, ignore it, and do nothing about it, if you give someone an audience for 5 minutes, they will breathe, they will relax, and they will learn how to be patient with others. It's patience. Be patient. #PatientBee.